Greetings, Kerbonauts! This is Kerbal Space Program. I'm Bob Fitch, and this is episode number 20 of the Gateway Project, in which we are going to continue landing our 5 different landers that are supposed to go onto Minmus so that we can explore the anomaly that we found down there in a previous episode, because I am quite curious to find out what could be hiding inside there. The last time we found an anomaly on Minmus, we found the plans for this thing that we've been building called the KSS, whatever that is, but it's supposed to open a magical gateway of some kind. That's all we can figure, and we want to know where that goes. So what if there's another plan for a space station or a ship or a module or something like that? That would be amazing, and we really want to find out. So we're landing these, and here comes the next one now. Now this one is the life support module. We want to bring down the life support module first and make sure that it's safely down on the surface before the Kerbals come down. That's probably the most important one. If this one were to fail to land or crash or whatever might happen, then the Kerbals would instead use the fuel on their craft to go and rendezvous with the space station that is still in orbit. But if it comes down well, then they will use that fuel to land instead. So here it is, and we have touchdown. Okay, we've landed right next to the power. We know that the life support will be in working order, so we can think about bringing down our actual command module. However, there's a certain amount of battery on all of these landers. One of them has some solar panels, but the others don't, including the command module. The one that doesn't have solar panels here, the cargo compartment, it needs to come down next. You can see there, the Minmus command. The command module is now running out of power. Now, if they run out of power, they will have to come down or it'll get cold and they'll lose their oxygen production. But they do have some time, and they could control their craft while while they don't have that power. But if this loses power, it just goes down and crashes, and we're not going to be able to keep it. So it needs to land next. There is some pretty important gear inside that cargo container, but I wouldn't say that any of it is absolutely critical. So if this one doesn't make it, we'll still come down with the Kerbals and set up the base. And okay, this one is good too. So far, so good. That's 2 of them. Now, before we continue, let's go back to Kerbin, because right now we're ready to launch the next bit of the space station. This is the S3 and S4 truss segments that are attached together already. We're sending them both up, and we'll dock them on the end of the gigantic truss assembly. This is another set of giant radiators. This is another set of giant solar panels, just like the last time when we did the P3 and P4, and those docked on the end, and we opened up those big panels. So now we're going to have 3 sets of massive solar panels up there, and pretty soon we'll be able to send up additional crew, and then we can start having 6 or even more crew up there, because we'll have enough power to actually supply all of the life support needs and all of the scientific instruments and experiments and all that. In our dimension, this was another space shuttle launch. It was STS-117, the Atlantis, and this one went up in 2007. Later, bad weather would actually delay the return of Atlantis, and so this ends up being the longest mission of Atlantis in all of its flights. And back around Minmus, we have 2 more modules that need to come down. We have the command module, and we have the battery module. And the command module has already run out of electricity, so we need to bring that down before we have any life support issues. We need to hook that up as soon as possible to the power tower that's already down on the surface. So that's exactly what we're targeting. We're trying to put everything really close together, all down next to the tower of power. Since one of Bill's grandfathers was actually an electrician, Bill knows exactly how to hook all of this stuff up, and so he's going to be the one that goes out on the EVA and actually sets up the base, as long as we can get everything down safely. But it looks like it's coming down fairly well. We need to get down close to the surface. We're just a little too far away from where we want to be, so we'll glide over there. We have our RCS jets firing to keep us stable as we maneuver across the surface and just ease into place right over by the Tower of Power. Well, we know that one of Bill's grandfathers worked as a salvage and tow truck driver. And we know that his other one was an electrician, but I'll bet you're wondering what his third grandfather did. Well, he worked in... Oh, hey there, Bill. Watch your head. And you're already out of power. Come on, go get that thing hooked up real fast because you're out of power. His third grandfather worked in Kerbopolis in the Great Candy Factory. As you can imagine, that made him pretty popular around school. However, he kind of was polarizing, let's just call him, because whenever he would bring the candy by school, he was always cleaning up after everybody and grabbing all their snack wrappers, and sometimes grabbing their wrappers before they were actually finished with their snacks, and you can imagine how that went over with the Kerbals. So we need to just hook up these pipe endpoints here. By doing these links, we are actually effectively docking all of these ships together. So the first thing we're doing is we're hooking up to the other one, hoping that if we hop inside, we can get our power back and maybe pick up a little extra life support, put a little extra monopropellant back in the tank. He's having a real hard time. Oh, ow, that looked painful. Well, anyway, so, ow, what are you doing, Bill? He is no Bob, I'll tell you that. Bob has the whole EVA thing down, except for when he knocks his toes on the P6. But Bill, he's got a few things. He needs some practice here, definitely. So, well, he'll be getting plenty of practice here. There's a lot of setup that goes into putting in this Minmus space. I mean, a lot of setup. But here we have another one connecting now between the power tower and the main base. So now we can go inside and we should have our power back. We can get our life support back up again, and we're doing pretty good. But we do still have one module that needs to be hooked up. But first, it's time to actually stop by the KSS and put this the S3, put this S3 and S4 into place on the starboard side and extend those panels once we have that out, and we'll have that thing ready to go so more Kerbals can come up and continue analyzing all these anomalies that have been plaguing Kerbin and the station and Minmus, and we're detecting some around the moon as well. In fact, our scientists say that on Moon, we had the largest anomaly yet that we've detected, at least, since we've been watching for him after Kessler came up with his analyzer. So we might have to send a mission to Moon, or maybe just a satellite to go and try and figure out what's going on, but that was like an order of magnitude larger than the next largest anomaly signature. So we are trying to rotate all of the panels to get them back into the original alignment so that it's easier to see how to dock this thing up. The problem with that was it was really making the station kind of unstable. So we had to be really careful about how it came in. So here we are rotating to make sure we're lined up just right, and that was part of why we were doing that other rotation there, so that we can see that radiator that comes down off the zenith side, not the zenith, off the keel. And that way when we dock this up, if we make sure that our radiator is lined up with the other radiator, we know that it's all even. So here we go, and bam! All right, it's in place. Now, we want to rotate this thing a little bit more and then extend the panels. But back here, we are bringing down the battery. These batteries are the main dark side component of the base. But if something were to fail on this one, I think we'd still probably be okay. We have some batteries in all the other modules, and we have that power tower that is throughout the day providing plenty of power. And if they had to, they could go through the night just cuddling up and keeping each other warm or something. And now, here we approach with our battery module. It's coming down right where it needs to be, right down on top of the rest of the base. So it looks like we're doing pretty good on getting it all set up here. What could possibly go wrong now? Nothing. It's going to be a breeze. We're just going to come in and land right next to everything. Whoa! Okay, so the frame rate is starting to get really, really nasty over here because you remember I've determined that it's the number of ships, and each one of these is acting like its own thing, even though they're sort of docked up right now, at least most of them. The frame rate has gotten a little bit bad for me here, and I'm having trouble actually maneuvering things in time, very unresponsive. So, unfortunately, it comes down on its side. But it's Minmus. Whatever. We'll just see if we can right this thing. Okay, so what's the plan? We will try to roll around a little, flip over. I know. We'll pull in the legs. This thing is practically a ball. So if we pull in the legs, we can just roll it. All right, give it a push. Come on. Go, 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 go. And open the legs. All right, there it is. Oh, thank you, Minmus. All righty, so that one's hooked up. Bill just needs to get out there and hook that one in with the rest of everything else, because of course, if that has our batteries and our backup solar panels, then we need to get that hooked into everything. So in order to do that, we're going to grab these things called pylons. This is the Kerbal Attachment System pylon, and pylons are really awesome little blocks that you can... Whoa! What on earth have you done now, Bill? Get your head out of the bottom of the base. Okay, so you're opening up another door while your head is stuck in the base? You're a little strange man. Anyway, he looks like he's okay. So, right, he grabs the pylon, and that allows him to... Well, actually, he's going to grab all the gear. That allows him to put that out on the ground wherever he wants to hook up some pipe endpoints. And then he can extend the pipes to go as far as he wants in between the two locations. So we'll fly one of those over here, put it down in between the power tower and the battery module, and then hook that up, pipe endpoint there. Whoa, Bill, really? Yeah, okay. I already knew what was gonna happen, and it's still hilarious watching him flip over. Yeah, so hook that up there, Bill. You drunk little bastard. Okay, it's all hooked up. I'm getting my composure back. I'm sorry. Oh, Bill. Really? Just do something that isn't quite so funny looking so that I can actually describe what's going on, or talk about the S3 or something like that. Okay, grab your box. We're gonna fly our box over here, and I don't know what he's doing anymore. I need to pause. Okay, I'm back. I am not rolling on the floor anymore, and Bill can now hook up the pipe endpoint as I was describing. So this is extending the pipe, and it'll act as a little bridge basically, allowing the Kerbal attachment system to transfer the power from that down into here and back and forth or whatever, or fuel or whatever it might be. You can do transfers as if the ships were docked. So that's pretty cool. But Bill says he doesn't like where one of the modules landed. It's kind of too much in the middle, and he wants to move it more out to the side just in case if we ever want to bring anything else down, it'll have that like open area in the middle. It'll be a nice little area for something to come down and land in if it had to, or it could just be like our sort of central, you know, if this were a town, that would be like town square out there, right in the middle, right? So we don't want anything sort of occupying that space and polluting it up. Likewise, we need to move around our pipe endpoints because we just moved that one module. And on top of that, in order to keep that center area a little more square or open up, we do want to do one more move, which we'll do here in a little bit. But first, we need to go back to Bob and the KSS, where we have recently docked in that S3-S4, and we need to do the rotation. Now, we know from last time that this is going to be a problem with the solar panels, because when we start to rotate them, they're so long on the ends that they create just too much wobble. So we need to pull those back in again. We're going to pull in a few things, actually. These radiators, those are not technically supposed to be extended right now. I showed how they could be extended in a previous episode just as an example, but they don't really want to stay extended like that, because that's not the point in the construction of the station when they were extended. Also, the one that's coming in on the P6 right here, that does come in. So what happens on the real ISS is as the new panels go in, they're sort of matching up their power needs and where things kind of stick out to make sure that they don't get bumped by stuff if it's moving around. And they also need to manage their radiators, so they can only have as much power intake as the radiators could radiate the heat for, which that's why they don't have the extras extended, because technically they aren't bringing in so much heat that they need all of those radiators yet. So we're done with the rotation. It's exactly where I want it lined up. So we're going to now reopen the solar panels, and now we won't have any of that jittery, wobbly problem. We've also already docked the injection stage that brought it all up here, so we're pretty close to done at this point. That S3-S4, it weighed 16 tons. It was one of the biggest payload that was ever brought up. But it's not just the payloads that they bring up. Sometimes the shuttles would bring up other things just for fun. Like, for example, that one brought up a 400-year-old, essentially a luggage tag. It was like a cargo tag. It had originally been made by a guy in the 17th century, a metal worker, who was marking up some cargo that was heading for the New World. And it was going to Jamestown. And they unearthed it in Jamestown only a year before this shuttle, the Atlantis, went up. And so they put this tag on the shuttle, sort of like taking it to the New World as well. Jamestown, of course, was the first English settlement, the first permanent English settlement in the Americas in 1607. The tag said Jamestown and was spelled with a Y, suggesting a Dutch or German origin, and was found inside a well there, along with some other things, and that's where the name Jamestown comes from. Okay, so while Bill here is repositioning some things, because he's decided that once again he doesn't like exactly how things are laid out, I guess you could say he's a little compulsive, maybe? And so he's moving one of these pylons down a little bit closer where he can then hook up some pipe endpoints, and then he'll do two pylons and extend the pipe in between the two pylons, which will then make it so it's a little bit safer. So with the pipe on the one end and the pipe on the other end having the angles to them, the slants, the one through the middle won't be the big tripping hazard that it would be if it were the way that it had been set up before. In fact, looking on the left right there, that long link that's sort of right at head level, that could really hurt somebody. So I think Bill's going to want to move that as well, just to make sure no one runs underneath it and like takes their head off, or really more accurately, Bill doesn't want to take his own head off, because clearly he is not really that good at EVA yet. Well, at least he's pretty agile about it in a way, I suppose. He was able to grab what he needed. Well, actually, technically, he needs two of them, so he grabs another one and then stacks them together, and now he can go back and he can finish his assembly over here. Okay, getting back to my little description of what's going on with that S3 and S4. So those solar panels that we installed, those things are, I already said that they are 16 tons, or this newest one is 16 tons, but in Kerbal terms, when I scale it down, it needs to be about 8 meters long. A lot of those segments need to be 8 meters long, actually. So I did the same thing I did before, where I line up 8 of those 1 meter long little strut pieces that I have, and then I did like half of it on the part that rotates and half of it on the side where the solar panels are, because they're about 4 meters long each in my terms. Now, I undocked the little thingy here, but I remembered that I didn't actually want to undock it yet because there's some debris that's on the outside. We have some of those RCS jets on both sides. Actually, we have them on 4 sides just to give extra power. Technically, those are the kind that you only need 2, 1 on each side, but by putting 4 of them, we get extra power to make sure that it's very maneuverable. So he's going to stack up all 3 here, or 4 of these. Bob's going to grab all 4 of the RCS jets and put them down inside some crates that are already on the side of that orbital injection stage. Stash those away, and then that can be taken off and deorbited and burned up. Next time on the Gateway project, we'll do the S5 Truss and finish the Minmus base. Until next time, I'll see you later, Kerbonauts.